Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. So we wake up the day after New Year's and we had a couple of domestic terrorism acts, and one was a F-150 electric truck in Bourbon Street in New Orleans, where supposedly they only had the orange cones that anybody could just knock over, not like a vehicle could just crush it when they have like metal. Um, they can block off the entire sidewalk and the whole street. Normally, that's the standard protocol, and it's buried in concrete, so it's hard to get through. But yet they didn't have those up, and then you had, um, and they found out that this guy, he ran over a couple of people, and then he started shooting people with a suppressed automatic rifle, and got into a shootout with the cops. They killed him. They found out he was former military out of Fort Bragg. And then, I think a little bit later, there was a Tesla truck bombing outside a Trump Tower in Las Vegas, Nevada. Luckily, the only the guy detonating the bomb in the Tesla truck was injured, and but they found out that he was also military out of Fort Bragg. So it's kind of interesting. I'm still concerned with the 18, 19 days we have until the transition and the inauguration of the new presidential regime. Get rid of the worst president of all time, Creepy Joe. Yeah, I told you guys I had a video. I called it the Red Dawn scenario, and instead of being invaded, we've already been invaded. There's tens of millions of illegal military aged, unvetted people in the United States that, for a fact, have committed crimes in the last 4 or 5 years. And, they were the ones that were getting all the FEMA money. And that's why the people from the recent hurricanes in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas, they're all suffering. They didn't have any money for help. I mean, I just don't understand how, if anybody else had a job where you were responsible for 330 million people and you didn't get the job done, that you would be fired, right? Um, we need term limits. We need to get these lifelong politicians that only make 175 grand a year, and they're, even if they're in there for 40 years, they should not be worth the amount of money that they are worth, right? And you know if you know history, and if you don't know, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. And it's just like, we've been in this position before. I think we're on the precipice of a 1929 Greater Depression and Bidenomics. I mean, that's all. That case closed. I mean, everything is 50% more. I don't care what it is. It's unless it's a bottle of booze or a pack of smokes, everything went up 50 bucks, 50%. Food, energy, gas, you name it, it's all went up. So I want to be optimistic, right? I want to be optimistic that we're finally going to get some stuff done for the regular folk, the 99% of us that don't have, versus every time a law is passed, it benefits the super rich or the corporations. And all they do is turn around and rip us off even worse than they already have been. And, I'm not, I don't, I'm not a big money guy. It's not a huge deal to me, but like, I just think that once you reach like 4, 5, 10 billion, whatever the number you want to say is, okay, dude, like, you got more money for your family's next 15 generations now. You don't have to do anything else, right? But yet, this is how monopolies and the powers that should not be running the banking systems and owning 97% of everything, the real estate, the land, the trucks, the fuel, I mean, the refineries, all they own everything. And so would it really surprise anyone if some tomfoolery or, some kind of like BS happens? And, you know, I'm just hoping that, my conspiracy hat's on too tight, and, maybe I'm being a little paranoid, but it's like with all the things that have happened since last summer, like in June, when the selective services is now for men and women 18 to 26, and the penalties of not signing up for the selective services, like 20 years in prison and like a 200 quarter of $1 million fine. So that happened in June, and then in September they came out with 5240. The Department of Defense can call in the military to use lethal force on U.S. citizens on U.S. soil if there's violence expected or unrest, and that scares the ever living bejesus out of me. Especially with the people that are in there right now. I mean, like the fact that the COVID mandates and how it's okay for the Democrats to have an abortion clinic at the Democratic convention last summer. But if it's my body, it's my choice, just like in that scenario, right? But yet I would have been shut out of hospitals. I would have had a dark winter, as they say. So, I mean, I'm never going to forget how people said to trust the science without even knowing what the scientific method entails. Um, you, you have an experiment to prove or disprove your hypothesis, and then you use the evidence to prove or disprove. Yes, that's how it works. When you just make shit up out of thin air and say, oh, well, if you put a face diaper on and you're 6 feet apart, everything's going to be fine. I mean, listen, I'm going to get in trouble, but it's like we have to. The divide and conquer playbook has been around since before Jesus. All right. And they have it down to a science. That's why you're fighting with grandma and your uncle at Christmas about whatever political issue they want you to worry about at the current moment in time. And it's like, I know everybody has an opinion, and in a free society that we say we're in, you're allowed to voice whatever your opinion is. And I would defend your right to the death to say it, even if I disagreed with what you were saying, right? And yet, for some reason, we've all been being censored for the last 8 to 10 years. Well, I mean, you could go back to 2001 when the Patriot Act was passed, and the idea that for your safety we're going to put cameras up everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. And yet we still have unsolved disappearances of people. We have unsolved murders when on damn near every corner there should be a camera. With the amount of money that they flushed down the toilet and money laundered and stole from you and me and everybody else that's paid taxes, it's like, when can we literally get the criminal element out of our government? I don't care if you're a Republican, an independent, a Democrat. If you're a fucking criminal, I want you to go to jail. And, everybody else hasn't been given that fair of a shake. You know what I mean? It's like, unless you were born into blue blood and you got all that money, like I ain't no fortunate one, as John Fogerty would say. But people put so much, um, like their whole identity is based on the job that they do, or the career path that they went down. And I'm not like trying to be an asshole or whatever, but it's just everybody puts such a high premium on making the most money and getting all the boats and the going on vacation and the honeymoon and you know, all that stuff. And it's like, I remember I think it was 1997, Bill Clinton was able to balance the national debt for like 1/4 of a second. You know, that ticker that tells you we're 34, 35, 36 trillion now in debt. Back then we were at zero. Okay. We were at $0 in debt. And from 1997 to 2024, we have now, like, I don't even know the correct numerological term, but quintupled the debt is like an understatement, right? Um, and it's like, listen, how are we reelecting people that can't balance a checkbook? Yeah, there was a video I saw about Warren Buffett, and you know what he used to say? That Congress should only be allowed to keep their jobs every year if they come out and balance the budget each and every year. Unfortunately, that was never allowed to be put into law. And that's why we have all these insider trading gajillionaires like Nancy Pelosi and you name whoever else is in there. They're all worth 100 times more than they should be. And all I'm saying is, if they had a real job, they would have been thrown in jail for theft. Anyways, so I just want to say Happy New Year's to everybody, and hopefully the computer is getting here soon. But until then, until the next one, be safe. Take care of yourselves, y'all. Peace.